Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. If you're the one holding the keys, opening up the store before the sun even comes up, or if you're the shift leader trying to keep everything from falling apart on a crazy busy Saturday, this is totally for you. Today, I'm going to share a massive personal career growth lesson straight from the retail trenches. We're looking at a brilliant concept from Chris Alberry's Built from the Aisles Up, a retail leadership survival guide. Specifically, we're unpacking presence over paperwork. We're going to talk about shifting our focus away from the cozy glow of the office monitor and getting back out onto the store floor where the actual business happens. Seriously, this isn't some abstract corporate theory. This is about pure survival. Okay, let's just dive right into it with a quote from the text that perfectly sets the scene. I never found an out of stock from my office. Just think about that for a second. How often do we fall into the trap of managing our stores from behind a desk? We literally live in our reports. We obsess over endless email threads. We stare at inventory spreadsheets to tell us what's missing, while out on the floor, the actual physical shelves are just falling apart without us. I mean, a spreadsheet might tell you that you've got 3 of an item on hand, but if those 3 items are hidden behind a display or stolen, yeah, your office monitor isn't going to tell you that. Only the aisles will. So that begs a pretty huge question that we really have to confront head on. Why do we retreat to the office when the real work is clearly out there? Well, the truth is, the office feels safe. Paperwork feels incredibly productive, right? When you fire off 10 emails and clear out your inbox, your brain gets this nice little dopamine hit. You checked a box. You feel like you got things done. But out on the floor, things are messy. Customers are totally unpredictable. Your team members have urgent issues popping up, and the physical environment is changing by the minute. Hiding in the office is a total trap because it gives you this illusion of control, while in reality, you're losing your grip on what's actually happening in your store. So let's look at the myth of the office. We really need to break down this dangerous illusion of productivity. This source material draws a super sharp line between what we think is productive and what actually adds real value. On one hand, you've got the illusion of productivity, your emails and your spreadsheets. Look, reports are definitely important, and nobody is telling you to just abandon your administrative duties, but they simply do not tell the whole story. Then you have the reality of the floor. Being out there, actually talking to your employees, checking the shelves, watching the customers, is going to tell you 10 times more than any spreadsheet ever could. You literally cannot lead a retail team through a Wi-Fi connection from the back room. The real metrics of success, they are happening right out in the aisles. And that brings us to what happens when the floor actually falls apart. Let's look at a deeply vulnerable, personal confession from the author. The author shares this real, catastrophic story from the trenches, and honestly, it hits close to home. It goes, "There was a time when I buried myself in emails for hours. By the time I came out, 2 critical departments had been running shorthanded." Oh man, imagine that feeling. You've been sitting there patting yourself on the back for finally catching up on your inbox. You open your office door and you walk out into absolute chaos. Your team is drowning, customers are frustrated, and you had absolutely zero idea it was even happening because you were just staring at a screen. So the absolutely crucial point here is taking unflinching personal accountability. The author writes, "The work didn't suffer because my people weren't capable. It suffered because I wasn't there to catch it early." As a frontline leader, that is a total punch to the gut, but it's exactly what we need to hear. When the floor falls apart, our first instinct is usually to blame the team, right? To say they didn't communicate or they didn't hustle fast enough. But the failure wasn't on the frontline workers. It was completely on the leader for not being present to spot the bottleneck, shift resources around, and support the team when that wave hit. Which leads us to a massive realization. Reports only tell the past. This personal failure completely shifts how we need to look at the data we rely on. This perfectly illustrates the fundamental difference in how we gather information. Spreadsheets and reports tell you what already happened. They are basically a post-mortem. By the time a metric shows up in red on your weekly report, it's too late. The customer has already left unhappy, the sale has already been lost, and your team is already totally burned out. Walking the floor, on the other hand, tells you what is happening right now. Being visible isn't just some nice, feel-good leadership trait. It is literally your single best, real-time diagnostic tool. When you're out walking the aisles, you catch those out-of-stocks before the rush hits. You spot the bottleneck at the register before the line wraps around the building. You are catching issues before they explode. And beyond just the daily operations, there's a huge psychological impact to your physical presence. When you're invisible, people just assume you don't care. That is a heavy, heavy truth. If your team is out there sweating through a massive rush and your office door is closed, yeah, resentment is going to build instantly. But when you are visible, your employees feel supported and your customers feel valued. Your physical presence on the floor sends this silent but incredibly powerful message that says, hey, I am in this with you. So, it's time to master the store walk. We know we need to be out there, but how do we actually pull it off when the emails just won't stop coming? Let's look at how this builds into an actionable daily strategy. You have to master the intentional store walk. Step 1, you've got to block the time. If you wait around for a free moment, trust me, it will never come. You have to put it on your schedule like it's a completely non-negotiable meeting. Step 2, and this is for sure the hardest one, leave the phone. If you're walking the floor while answering emails on your mobile device, you aren't actually on the floor. You're literally just taking your office for a walk. You're completely missing the point. And step 3, observe the aisles. Actually look at your shelves, look at the faces of your team members, and really interact with your customers. All right, let's bring it all home with the ultimate survival tip. This is the most uncompromising piece of advice we've got. The author frames this not as a polite suggestion, but as an absolute survival tip. And I want to deliver this to you, colleague to colleague. If you want to survive the retail trenches without losing your mind or losing your team, you've got to follow these rules daily. Block time in your day for store walks. No phone, zero distractions, just you, the aisles, and your team. You have to protect your floor time fiercely. Let the messy, real, completely unfiltered reality of the aisles guide your management, not just the sanitized numbers sitting quietly in your inbox. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. If you are sitting in your office right now listening to this explainer, or if you're checking your email, what are you missing on the floor right this very second? Are your departments running shorthanded? Is a customer looking for an item that you could easily find for them? Look, the paperwork is always going to be there waiting for you. Always. But the real work, that's happening out there. It's time to step away from the desk, open that door, and get back out to the aisles. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer.